Oh, that's it. You have beautiful jewelry and a beautiful top though today.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me speed this up. There we go. All right. Okay, perfect. And then let me find us on the Facebook page.
I leave that to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Although we've had so many wonderful women who have participated, it's really pretty great. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum.
It looks like it's live already.
Yeah, it should be live because I just did it live. But you know me, I'm casual about it all. There we are. I found us.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because then I can follow all the comments as we go along. Hi, Allie. Nice to see you. Okay, so we just had the most interesting conversation with Alice and Dr. Love about gut health and the emotions in regards to gut health and how it's important to authentically express yourself if you want a healthy gut. And then also to make good substitutions, to not give up all the things you love, instead to find the healthier option. And to even doing something like praying right before you eat. Am I getting feedback? It sounds a little weird.
No, you're a little bit in and outy.
Huh. Well, let me double check, make sure I've got the right microphone. Yeah, I do.
I thought it was your sketchy internet connection.
Oh, it could be. I'm a sketchy kind of a person.
I know.
Okay. And Nikki's here too, and Kitty's here too. Good. So we've got a nice group of people that are starting to gather. About making healthier substitutions. Yeah. Well, Dr. Love makes healthy chocolate, and he knows all about healthy chocolate as well as like fair trade. And hey, Patty made it, and Jet's here. That's good. So we were talking about fair trade and how the energy of the food that you eat, like the chocolate you eat, you want it to have good vibes. Am I still sketchy?
Oh, in and out. I'm ignoring it.
Oh, okay. Huh. So, it was a wonderful little magical conversation. And I invited you on today because I think we're going to have another magical conversation.
Right. So today's topic is
confident women get angry and like it.
Well, what's the main topic for the day?
Oh, the main topic for the day is home. And then the overall topic for the challenge is bringing the spirit into your life every day of 2021.
So you're talking about getting angry, and what does that got to do with home?
Well, what tends to happen is when we have an emotion that we judge, that we say is bad, and we don't let ourselves like authentically feel the emotion, like be angry or be depressed. If we don't let ourselves express those, what happens is we start to feel physically more and more stressed all the time. And we can't feel comfortable because our inner home, our world inside of ourselves is all stressed out. And it can't function physically because we've taken the anger and we've eaten it or we suppressed it. Instead of finding, like with finding healthier things to eat, this is like healthy chocolate versus milk chocolate. It's about finding healthy ways to honor and respect your feelings that like won't land you in jail or ruin all your relationships or make your life more difficult than it needs to be. But I think typically we choose to either suppress it or we act it out in some way, or we take it out on somebody else instead of doing what we're supposed to do, which is be loving. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
That's it?
That's it. So did that answer your question? What that had to do with home is when you express your anger, you actually help your body feel like a home. And when you don't express your anger, you make your body sick. And it not only makes you sick, it also starts to affect everything around you and makes everything around you sick.
So when we're actually making a healthier home by being a jerk sometimes to other people who are being jerks to us.
Right. They did this super interesting. Thank you for interviewing me because I love to talk about this stuff. Jennie's interviewing me this time, and I asked her to do it because I don't get to share this stuff. I blah, blah, blah. But, nobody really helps me go deeper into it. So I can tell you everything that I know about this stuff, which is important. So, right. This stuff is actually really important. So we've been taught that in order to be perfect, we have to not be authentic. We have to deny how we really feel inside. And that just doesn't work for anybody, to deny how you feel inside. You actually have to own it and express it in some way. And sometimes it means being a jerk to jerks. Oh, now I know what I was going to say. There was this research that said, what's the best way to win an argument? And so they had people submit all this stuff and they put it all in the databases and everything. And this is what they came up with. It not just win an argument, but to kind of get what you want to win overall in life. If someone's being a jerk to you, you should match their energy because that's the wavelength they're communicating on. They probably don't even think you're being a jerk to them because you're just talking to them the same way that they're talking to you. They just communicate differently than you do. And so if someone's being a jerk to you, come engage with them with the same energy. If someone is being good to you, engage to them with a good energy. If someone's neutral, engage with them in a good energy. Because the good energy always wins out, but sometimes people who struggle with frustration and anger and negativity, they're blinded by how they feel. And the only way to get past how they feel is a little bit of direct, strong language that takes them by surprise and makes them wake up a little bit. And for you would be, oh my God, I would never do that to somebody else. That would traumatize them. That would be horrible. That would be the worst thing anybody could ever do to anyone ever. How could you even think about that? No, this is how you're saving somebody's soul, because you're breaking through their insecurities and their fears to wake them up so that they can live in a better balance and have better relationships. It's almost like when they would slap people to get them out of their insanity.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have no problem going out to somebody's level. I mean, I work well that way. I mean, I kind of was raised that way where, if somebody yells, you yell back, and then you might both be yelling, but at least you're speaking the same language. And the good thing about that is then they can't use those techniques with you all the time. Like they find that if they yell at you and you yell back, now they have to try to speak to you in a different way because they're getting it right back at them.
It's uncomfortable. Nobody really enjoys being yelled at. It's uncomfortable to be in that dissonance.
Right. But it also firms you up though, right? Because now you're saying, wait, I have a voice and I want to speak and I'm not going to be pushed back into a spot. And I know probably for a lot of people, that's really hard because in the past, if they have yelled, they've had repercussions, right?
When we were kids and growing up as young women, I mean, don't nobody should hear you. You should have perfect A's. I mean, and we were going to be better than everybody else and we were going to get those perfect A's and because it was a survival mechanism,
Right.
It's very interesting how that stuff comes up. There's a woman I'm working with who's another coach who yeah, I kind of perceive her as an equal, but in a different way. But just like girls in school that have the same academics, or you're a little bit of rivalry here. And I'm constantly checking myself and saying, oh, would you look at this anger that came up? Oh, would you look at this frustration or judgment that came up? That's super interesting in regards to, my own insecurities and what I'm projecting upon her, about how she's more amazing than I am, or why does she get that and I don't get that. And really, it's just parts and pieces of me coming up to be loved.
Right. And it's really just, we're always comparing ourselves to everybody. But the thing that I've learned from like doing my readings is that everybody has completely different, unique gifts and talents. And even people who do psychic work they don't all do it the same. We don't all hear it the same, see it the same. Some people, have different methods. Some people use different tools. That's not what's important. That's what makes you unique. That's what sells you, is because you do it completely different than how somebody else does it. Same thing with your coaching, right? You have a completely different technique than somebody else. And those things actually complement with other people. Then, you're also going to attract the people who are most willing to hear you on your terms naturally. People who come to me for readings have either been referrals or that kind of thing. And it's because they like how I work. But there's other people that can give them the same information that is more effective or less effective. So it's really just trying to get your information out and then connect with the people who resonate with you the best. So we're always kind of trying to learn how to use our own abilities to get to that, to get people to recognize their own unique abilities and then bring that out, I think.
Right. No, I agree. The key is to become the person that we're meant to be. Now, one of the things that gets in the way, and Kitty mentioned this, is now teach me to talk back without being slapped. And that's really one of the reasons that we got so, let's say, oppressed in the first place, is because we were taught that we could be in great harm if we started to be authentic, if we started to stand up for ourselves. And that can be a real block, a real wall, is that fear that we have. And even if intellectually we know, we should be fine, everything should be okay, I'm an adult, physically and emotionally, we still get so overwhelmed by how we feel. And we're not able to be authentic. We're not able to say what we need to say because we're too scared of what might happen. And the biggest challenge for me over the last year was every time I would get scared, I would calm my nervous system down. And when I did that, it like peeled back the layers of stress in my brain until I got to the point where I had the choice about whether I wanted to talk back or not. And I had the ability to choose words that would communicate a message instead of create more drama. So it's not just angry, it's angry with balance and centeredness. So it's angry with intention. Before I will express something that needs to be expressed in an angry way, I will do work around it. I'll haven, I'll do the TAT points, I'll take baths, I'll meditate on it, I'll journal about it for months sometimes, to decide, how do I want to handle this feeling? What do I want to do about it? It needs to be expressed. What's the best way to express it? What will get my point across? What's really coming up for me? So then what happens is I'm kind of on the lookout then for the opportunity to say what I need to say, to express this feeling to the person that needs to be expressed. If I think I need to say something about it, if I don't deal with it by, going for a walk or something. But if I decide I need to say something and I need to say it in a loud way and I need to do it in a loud, unexpected way so that it makes a point, but it also needs to be kind and it also needs to be innocent and it needs to be truthful. And it might have to hurt a little bit for the other person because it is truthful and direct. Then
sometimes,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you said when you're looking for the appropriate time or that kind of thing. And I think it's when we decide that we're ready, we make that conscious decision that we are ready to say this and to get this off our chest, then it's amazing how that opportunity shows up. Because you've now told the universe, okay, I'm going to deal with this. And so the universe says, all right, well, here you go. Now deal with it. It's like one of those things where they always say, you shouldn't say, well, not shouldn't, but it's not to your benefit to say, I need more patience. Because when you say I need more patience, what you're saying is, I need more chaotic things to happen so that I have to practice patience.
Oh, that's an interesting look at it. You're like, yes, I need more love. Okay, well, we're going to give you opportunities to love where it's painful. And I did that. I totally did that. There's a book. It's The Soul in the Sun. And it's an excerpt from Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. And I was never into this guy before because I always thought he was just like weird and he had been homeless for a while and, and he was this author and he made $1 million. And I saw him in person as part of a panel and I thought, yeah, he's kind of wimpy, and I never really had a high opinion of him. And so even though this book came into my life probably about 15 years ago and I loved the story, it didn't have the same oomph because the author, I was like, well, he's kind of a weenie. And then I started to go deeper into the spiritual work, not just the science of healing, but how science and spirituality come together better. And I started to look at his work through a different set of eyes of him connecting with something that was greater than him. And it wasn't just him talking to himself and writing a book. He was tapping into a higher consciousness and listening to it. He wasn't just hungry.
Right. Right. We'll do a lot of stuff when we're hungry, though.
So he's listening to something higher than them. And so the book came from his readings, and now I have a better understanding. And The Soul in the Sun there's these two angels up in heaven. Well, actually, there's this one angel up in heaven. And the angel says, I want to learn forgiveness. And God says, no, you don't want to learn forgiveness. Forgiveness is a pain in the ass. You don't want to learn forgiveness. And the angel's like, of course I want to learn forgiveness, which sounds like me, a smart ass, right? Of course I want to learn forgiveness.
Oh, great.
Forgiveness. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many sweat lodges or talking circles in my own mind, or when I've been in the cold sweat lodge all by myself, because I've tried to do sweat lodges and you got no heat and nothing worked and you were cold the whole time and you're sitting there shivering and you're like, give me forgiveness, for whatever, you're being melodramatic. And this other thought in my mind would always come in and say, wait, but easy, not a lot of work. Don't make me, don't make this hard on me. Graceful, not so painful, so yes. So God's saying, no, you don't want to learn forgiveness because it's painful. It brings you more. It brings you things that you need to forgive. And the angel persisted. And finally, God says, fine, let's get you out of here. You can learn about forgiveness. And he says, but you're going to need somebody to forgive. And so he asks the whole crowd of, clamoring angels, who would be the person, that will do something so egregious, so horrible, so satanic, so discombobulated, so awful to this angel that wants to learn about forgiveness? Who is willing to be that evil demon doer. And an angel raises his hand. He says, I'll do it. He says, I just have one thing to ask. And the thing I have to ask is, you remember who I really am.
Mm.
That when I'm doing this terrible, horrible thing to you, you remember who I really am. And so if we're asking for forgiveness, we have to be ready to forgive and to look at this other person, you know, to go through our own shit, go through our own pain and hurt and anger and cognitive dissonance so that we can authentically love them, not just give lip service to it, not wish we loved them, but secretly, you know, imagine cars running over them or something, you know, but authentically see them for who they are. And to do that, we have to work through all of our biases and our prejudices and our judgmentalisms, and the anger has to come up and the memories have to surface, and we have to make peace with them. And then we can authentically love this other person when they do this egregious, horrible thing to us. That's the work. That's what relationships are about, in my point of view. I don't know what you think about all of that.
I mean, that's the contracts we're all signing before we come here. I mean, that's literally like, all right, I'm going to teach you about you know, you agree to these things. You say, you know, I'm going to teach you about forgiveness. I'm going to teach you about love. But again, there's always flip sides to that. You can't experience one without the other. And we get here and we forget that we signed up for these lessons. We didn't sign up for maybe how they appear, because that navigates through our lives. We just sign up for the class. We don't know how the class is going to play out. And we forget. You know, and then we think, oh, you know, like, this person is horrible. And a lot of people never get past that, right? A lot of people never learn the lesson. They never move forward. They choose to be, you know, depressed or stuck in like a victim mentality.
And here's the deal, though. Yes, they get stuck in that mindset and they get trapped and they forget. And on a physical level, that's reversible.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
When we get angry, it's telling us that we have a block, and we need to give ourselves, that raging, angry, hurt part of ourselves, the love and the respect that we needed. And that's how we reverse it. You know, I used to listen to, you know, lessons and what's the lesson. And I would get really angry. I would. Somebody would say, well, you didn't learn the lesson. And I would be like, F you, you know, right? I don't know what the lesson is. I can't.
Why would I choose this? Nobody in their right mind would choose this for a lesson.
Nobody would.
Yeah, right? Nobody would choose this. Nobody would choose this as a lesson.
Right. This is ridiculous. This is the most horrific thing I can imagine. Why is this happening to me? You know, and I would totally do that because I didn't understand. And I'd hear it and I'd be like, yeah, whatever. You're an idiot. Leave me alone. You know, because like the Catholic Church, they didn't understand the experience that I was having. But what we found out is those repressed feelings create walls in our brain, and these walls act like electric fences that make us freak out when we get too close to them. And so when we're in a victim mentality, it's because our brain is literally segmented like an orange by stress chemicals, and it can't communicate with each other. And the nervous system is in fight or flight and shutting down your immune system and shutting down your gut. And all of that's happening. So when we say victim mentality, I used to get super judgmental. And I'd be like, you know, who are you to say that I wasn't victimized? And now I realize, no, it's just a physical side effect of experiences that I had that I couldn't process. And now let's get them off of my system, process them out of my body. And it's like the dial on the clock. It's like the clock starts to go backwards Because now, instead of your body continuing to fall apart and get more and more fragmented and feel more and more crazy, it's actually getting stronger and more whole and integrated and working together and nourished. And it starts to flourish and think differently and think outside the box. And that's what we mean when we say helping you find your genius, because
Right.
you are a genius. You need to polish it.
And that's the thing, is that people don't realize you don't have to stay that way forever. Just because something happened to you, or you had a shitty childhood, or you were in a bad relationship, that's not your lifetime. That's just something that happened to you. And there's different ways to learn how to move past that, because your goal is always to get through it, not to stay stuck.
So I want to play a game with you real quick. Would you do this with me? Because
Okay.
we're teaching people regulation skills too. So what I'd like you to do is to hold the TAT points, the thumb and the ring finger, and then the middle finger is just kind of prop your phone up. It can look like whatever. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect either. Okay, so thumb and ring finger on the inside of your eyebrows, and the two middle fingers just sort of rest there. And the other hand goes on the back of your head, like on the occiput. Okay, while you're holding that, I would like you to talk to me, and I'll hold it too so you don't feel too weird. And actually, if everybody who's watching this could hold this, nobody can see you. Just hold it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, just do it. Thank you. So I'd like you, Jennie, to talk about victimhood and people who don't realize that they don't have to be victims.
Well, I see it a lot in people that feel stuck, that they feel like this is their life and this is where they're going to stay. And there's never going to be a way out of it. And they feel lost. And it's my belief that that was just a lesson. Even if it's a horrible, crappy, life-altering lesson, it was meant to give you an opportunity to grow and to change and to become a bigger person. And when you finally let yourself do that, when you take chances and try different things instead of repeating the patterns, then you give yourself the opportunity to become a bigger person, a better person with more talents, more gifts, more abilities, more of a voice. You get to be angry and not have repercussions, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, you can put your hands down now. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And thanks for being so honest about it all.
Well, too, like even with the psychic work that I do, there's sometimes I see people who are really excited to do it, right? They really want to have gifts, or they have gifts and they just don't know how to channel them and use them. And I also see them that they'll be damaged. And it's like, before you try to add the psychic card to your deck of cards, get your other crap resolved first, because you can't be effective. You can't be working with higher energy and working with information that can be information overload sometimes if you're not in a good headspace. You just cannot. It's not fair to you to try to avoid all that other stuff, and it's not fair to the people that you end up doing readings for, because you're tacking too much of your own baggage on it. So you really have to get into a spot where you're in a good place and try something different. Start off the new year trying something different.
Well, you have to decide to. I mean, really, that's, the hardest part about this stuff is convincing people that there are things that they can do that can reverse this. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots of things that they can do. And once they decide, that's the hardest part, is someone actually taking that leap of faith to decide, you know what, maybe I can do something about this. I'm going to start investigating to see if I can get this stress off of my system. I wonder how I want to do it. And everybody does it differently, but there's dozens of different pathways, some way slower than I like. Like, I don't want to become a Buddhist monk. I'd really rather sit in my bath and stroke my arms and hold my head and listen to great music. I mean, that's how I want to do it. But other people may want
Well,
to reverse
and
it by going for walks.
right, and you have to realize that, what is that? Just because you spent a long time making a mistake doesn't mean you have to stick with it for a long time. And so, yeah, I mean, for some people, they might feel like I need to change my whole life around. Other people, it may just be, your havening or whatever that helps them regulate. You know, maybe that's part of the lesson. Maybe they have a really traumatic experience because they are meant to go out and be a monk or a nun or whatever. That's their path that they had to get to. It's just about getting you on the path. Maybe it just means about calming down and learning how to regulate your system so that you can, do your day job normally and be able to function and have get up and not want to go back to bed right away every day. Maybe that's your goal. So,
To have friends. I really didn't think friends were possible until a few years ago. But and I had real problems with women, and I had to make a decision. I said, you know what? I see all these posts on my Facebook page about how girlfriends are the best ever, and you can always count on your girlfriends. And I said, either they are all lying. I said, which is possible. They could all be lying to me, or there's something really wonderful about these relationships with other women, and I need to work on it. And so I started working only with women then, and I opened up a women's center. So because I was scared of women, which meant that I needed to start to solve the problem if I wanted the benefits of, girlfriends and family and things like that.
yeah. So, but it took you having those crappy experiences to get you to where you are. So,
to make me want to do it, because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
right. And I think it's hard for a lot of people to get out of that sick and tired mentality and think, it's just with anything, even if it's just like, dieting or whatever, you're sick and tired of being overweight, or you're sick and tired of having high blood pressure or whatever. Well, then do something about it, or stop complaining, because really when you don't do anything about it, you're choosing it. Then you're choosing to stay there. So however you choose to get out of it, even if it's just a little thing to start, it just takes that little momentum, and then the universe sees what's happening and wants to assist you and keeps dropping little things in your lap, little, nuggets of, here, try this. How about this person? Oh, look at who's this person. Once you open the door just a crack, the universe on the other side, the people, your friends, your family, your guides, they storm it, trying to get in to help you.
And I have one more thread to add to that. A lot of us are on the one side with all of this stress in our brain, looking at the good life, not really believing it exists, not thinking it's ever possible for us because we've never had that experience before. And we have to be in denial because the pressure isn't great enough yet. In AA, one of my favorite, and I wasn't involved with AA, but I have a lot of family members who were, so it's been a part of my life for 28 years. There's a phrase, and one of the phrases is, every drink is one drink closer to your last. And what I interpreted that to mean was, sometimes you need to do the things that make you really uncomfortable, or you need to let other people do the things that make them really uncomfortable, because the faster they get to that level of discomfort that they're not willing to tolerate it anymore, the faster they'll turn their lives around. And so I don't know what somebody's lesson is. I don't know what order they need to learn it in. I don't know who they need to learn it from. I don't know any of that stuff, but I do know that sometimes they need to have another drink before they're pissed off and miserable enough. Sometimes they need to turn to me, and I am not their best friend because I care about them too much. And so I'm going to give them a line, that makes them uncomfortable. So sometimes you have to go down before you can go up. And
100%.
I don't know what's right for people. So my job is to just be like, oh, let's regulate your nervous system. You have some tension around that. Sometimes you have to get into a knockdown, drag out, spit in their face kind of fight, because that's the message you need to get across, and that's your authentic emotion.
Yeah, and I think that on that idea too is that sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the times, if you're stuck someplace that isn't for your soul's greatest good to be stuck there, the universe or God or whatever source, whatever term you want to give, will keep making that place uncomfortable more and more and more and more and more, because it's trying to get you to get so uncomfortable that you finally get out of it. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, I often, talk to people when I'm doing readings, and they'll say something about their job, and I'll be like, well, you can stay because you have free will. You don't have to leave the job, but that job's going to get worse until you leave, because you're not meant to stay there. And then if you still don't leave, then something happens and that job closes and you get fired. So one way or another, you're leaving. So why don't you do it on your own terms?
Right, because it's not in your greatest good. And so you're going to be encouraged to do that which is in your greatest good, even if it goes against everything you thought was true. If you follow your intuition and follow your heart, many times, even though it makes no sense and it's counterintuitive, it's the right thing to do. And you don't know why, and you don't have to know why. You just have to follow what you feel is right in your heart. And the problem comes is when our thoughts or our judgments or our stress says, no, I can't do that, because, then fill in your own very good reason.
Right. I mean, it's always the negative thoughts in our heads that hold us back from taking the challenges. But, the worst case scenario is just as likely to happen as the best case scenario. So instead of focusing on the worst case scenario and you feel crappy about it, focus on the best case scenario. And then you probably land somewhere in between. But at least this whole time you've been focusing on
the worst case scenario, right? Yeah.
Right. Be like, well, I could either lose my job or win $1 million, but I like thinking about winning $1 million. So I'm going to focus on that.
And we're likely to win $1 million. Even if everything we say is garbage and not true and a complete lie, I would rather I have a better chance of getting the $1 million if I believe I can get it. If I have faith I can get it, and I put things and I'm looking for it and I'm hopeful about it, I'm way more likely to think that way to get it than I am to think the other way, but without any judgmentalism, because the judgmentalism gets in the way too. Like, I'm depressed. What's wrong with me? No, you're depressed, which means that a part of you is depressed. Own the fact that a part of you is depressed and love that part of you. Stop beating it with a stick and telling it it's not good enough, that it needs to be happy. What the hell's wrong with you? Love it instead. Respect it instead. And that's how we get through it, by feeling it.
And acknowledging it, and then wanting to grow from it. What is this teaching me? What am I getting out of it? Why am I stuck in this place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just even asking the questions. Yeah. Asking the questions starts the process. Well, we need to wrap up. Is there anything that you're curious about that you'd like me to say anything about, or do you have anything you'd like to add on this conversation, on this topic, before we wrap up?
No, I'm just anxious to see who else you're going to have on this week. It's always those little nuggets of information that you get to take with and utilize and see what happens. And
yeah, at 2:00 we've got a visual artist named Tim Biscup. And he's a successful visual artist, and his work's really super interesting. I met him through another group that I'm in on Monday nights. And, I come from a more rural environment. So the people I always hung out with were more rural, far northwest suburbs. And in this group I'm in, I've made relationships and friendships and intimacy with people who come from all sorts of different places, like middle of New York or Southern California. And they've established a life there. They live a different vibe than I do. And Tim is brilliant. He's been a successful artist for a long time. He doesn't quite know why people like his stuff, probably because it's outside the box, but that's how he makes his living. So he's going to show up at 2, and he's an incredibly authentic human being. And we're going to be talking about authenticity, how some artists like himself are able to really be authentic, because you have to be to make good art. You have to be deeply authentic and survive that, the process of being authentic and having everybody come after you, and, and all of that's involved. So he's coming on at 2. And then at 3, we've got, wait. Oh, Dr. Monique Lovechild. She changed her last name to Lovechild. It's actually, it used to be Kiragansis. She's from the Chicago area. Now she's in Alaska. She's a pediatrician who literally, her office is on Sesame Street. And
Wow.
she is a crazy cool human being. And we're adding her to Rochelle Kalish, the interior designer that's deeply spiritually Jewish and deep into her faith, as well as interior design, award-winning, all of that. So we're having them come on and have a conversation, I think, about spirit, creating spirit in your home. So Monique will kind of be about in your internal home, and Rochelle will be kind of about your external home. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a fun conversation, to be sure. And hopefully they know that they're talking to each other.
Well, and talking about that too, I'm laughing because, you're talking about these people with these amazing, unique talents that's what they bring to the table. That's right. Their voice, right? If they don't use it, we don't know about it.
Right.
And if we don't know about it, then what are we missing out on? So we all have those unique voices that we get to share and see what.
Right. And bring the gold that we are, the genius that we are. So it'll be fun to have them on. And so that's it. Yeah, that's a 3. And then tonight at 8:00, I'll do the group healing. People are welcome to join me or not, or listen to the replay, or work through any issues that come up today. Remember, any negative thoughts, any frustration, any resistance, any tension, promise yourself this week you're going to haven, you're going to regulate, you're going to do something to intervene. Don't suffer. Stop the suffering cycle. Notice, oh, I could never do that. And then haven. Or notice, this will never work out for me. I feel heavy and not good enough. Go for a walk, drink a glass of water, have a good piece of healthy chocolate, something. But break the cycle as soon as possible. Give yourself permission to do that this week, because at the end of the week, we're going to see where we're at. And we're going to see the changes that have made inside of us and being authentic.
And like you're saying, when you're doing that, one of the phrases I love, and it really, relates to what I do, but it relates to all this, is to be aware of what you're aware of. Mm-hmm. If you know you can't acknowledge it or work through it or do anything with it until you're actually aware that it's even happening.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing. We're bringing the awareness up. We're clearing it off your system. Physically, you're getting the stress off your system. You're getting the cortisol off your system. You're getting the walls and the veils in your brain are coming down so that your brain is more integrated. So it talks to each other better. It's more creative. You start to remember things you had forgotten because they were behind those stress chemical walls. You start to be innovative and more creative. You see the world differently. You start to feel more whole. It's at the level of what we're doing this week is the level of soul reclamation. Through a shamanic viewpoint. We are doing soul reclamation this week. It's that important.
Yep. It's going to be good.
Yeah. At the very first, full week, work week, blah, 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 pandemic, all of it. Whew. The spirits are, I'm sure, active.
It's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. Okay, so we'll be talking later this week, and we can talk about that. That'll be fun.
Cool. All right.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
I'll see everybody at 2. Okay. Bye.